Okay, everybody, welcome again. Check out today. We got a real fun build going on here. This is the Monster Jam Challenge put on by Devils Details Diecast. I tell you what, I've been wanting to do a monster truck for some time. And I've just been kind of figuring out what I want to do, and then boom, here comes this Monster Jam Challenge, and I'm all over this thing. This is going to be fun to do this. So what I'm going to do, I think this Dodge 1970 Dodge Power Wagon is going to be the perfect vehicle to start my build with. It's already kind of lifted up. It does have a cool stance already, but once we get done with this thing, it's going to be a car crushing badass machine. So I see we have to put these big old Firestone tires on there from Greenlight, so that's what we're going to do. I just got some fresh ones in the mail the other day, so without further ado, let's dive in here. So here's our donor vehicle. This is our Hot Wheels 1970 Dodge Power Wagon. Pretty cool casting. I think this would be a pretty cool car to do another kind of custom on. Not necessarily a monster truck, but maybe just a little bit bigger wheels, just something kind of like a big old 4x4, some killer paint or something. And but anyway, not to digress, that's something for another day. What we're going to do here, as usual, we're going to start by drilling out our posts and getting this thing taken apart and seeing what exactly we got to work with here and kind of what direction we want to go to start off first. So it's time to get our car apart here. Going to get our little screwdriver. After we buzz the rivets off with our drill bit, we're going to take our screwdriver and pop this body off the chassis and see what's going on here. So got a handful of pieces here actually, and the roll bar is kind of an odd deal here because the headlights are molded into the windshield and the rest of the roll bar is molded into the body. But one thing I thought was odd is there's no like slanted back part of the bar to the roll bar, so we're gonna fix that later. But here's our Power Wagon body, pretty self-explanatory there. And first thing we're going to do here is cut a hole in that hood and put that big badass blower in there. I think that thing sticking up and way up out of there is going to look mean and sweet, and it's going to be a badass truck putting that blower in there, if I can do it. So what we're going to do, we're going to start drilling a couple pilot holes in the four corners of the factory, and once we get as many pilot holes drilled out of there as we can get, we're going to go in there with our file and just start cleaning that thing up and try and get it as as flat as looking as possible and as flush as we can, and make it kind of look like it was meant to be. So I like doing this part starting off with the drill bits because it takes a good amount of material away. So that definitely, limits the amount of the cutting and filing that you gotta do, which can be a bit of a pain, that's for sure. But I got all my corners in, are drilled out. So I'm going to center punch to try to get a couple more holes in there to eliminate a little more of that material, so I don't have to try to cut it or sand it. This was kind of a small type of a hole to drill. I was trying to avoid getting the like the mini jeweler saw in there, and it shouldn't be that big a deal. You can see I got 6 holes punched in there. Most of it's gone. It's just going to leave some peaks here and there, but we'll be able to hit that with the file. And take your time with it, and it'll get them, and they'll go away, and we should be left with a nice big old hole there, perfect for our big badass blower to stick through. So now that we have most of our holes done, or pretty much all of them done, I'm going to bump up a bit size, just a little bit, and I'm going to try to hollow those holes out a little bit and get out that little bit of material that's in between all the holes. Which, you know, like I said earlier, cut down on any kind of cutting or filing to do. But it took me a while to get done with that, but you see how we got our hole in there. We did go ahead and get this thing in the sandblast box and get all that blue off there and see what else we need to do with this thing. But first thing, we're going to run it through the wire wheel box here and get all that sandblast residue off there. See what kind of body, see what our body looks like. I'm not going to do much else. I'm not gonna polish this thing up. I'm really only gonna hit it with this wire wheel. I do have a fun little paint job in mind for this thing, and we're gonna use some Createx Autoborn primer sealer, so it doesn't need to be polished or nothing. We were no plans on Spectra Flame or anything like that. So as soon as we get all that stuff off all the inside and outside and all the cracks and all that, here's a look here at how it looks after it comes out of the wire wheel. It looks pretty good to me. So we're going to move on to paint after we get that thing cleaned up with some soap and water and dried out. So we're going to start off with Createx Autoborn White Sealer as our primer. Reason I want to do white because I'm going to use a white base coat after this, a white pearl base coat. And before I start getting any other color in there. So Autoborn sealer goes on really nice. If you read the bottle, it does say around 25 to 30 psi, which does seem to work about the best. I like it around 30. Every once in a while I do have dry tip issues. I'm still kind of getting used to that and trying to eliminate it, but definitely the higher my psi, I've found that the dry tip comes out a lot more. So right around 30 max, 25 to 30 definitely seems to have the best flow, and it doesn't have the dry tip going on. So a couple looks at our prime job. I think we're getting pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and lay down a little pearl white over top of this white sealer, and why not, we're going to add a little hot rod sparkle to it, and then I'm going to put some other colors down later, and we're going to layer that hot rod sparkle all over this thing. I want this thing to shine and pop, and you know, if you're sitting up in that arena watching this thing, you're going to love watching this truck, and you're going to see it wherever you are. So that's what I'm going for. So it's we're going to lay pearl white down, light first coat as usual. You saw earlier, did add a little 40-30 and a little 40-12 to reduce it just a little bit. Helps flow, helps adhesion. It does, you know, you follow the directions on the bottles, and it seems to work out well. So we're going to lay down another color here. We're going to go with Pearl Red, and we're going to put this on the lower portion of our truck. We're also going to add a little blood red in there to kind of deepen, darken it up a little bit, and we're going to put obviously a little more of that hot rod sparkle in there. Add some 40-30 for flow and 40-12 to reduce, and then we're going to be good to go. It looks pretty good. It's a nice bright, deep red, and those hot rod pearl flakes are going to make this thing pop. So first coat is going to be pretty light. Actually, one thing I probably should have done was I probably should have mixed a little opaque red or laid some down beforehand, since I kind of forgot that the pearl red is pretty transparent, and it's, you know, obviously for the pearls it helps to have a color-coded base color, and I didn't do that. I didn't think I'd need to. I thought by adding the blood red in there and putting an extra couple layers or two that I would get the color that I want, and I think it turned out okay. Once we get to the end of the red final color here, you'll see it. But we're gonna continue on, just layering the red on there. You can see it is getting a little bit darker, but you can still kind of see through it. It's kind of started out like a light pink, and then it went to like a light red, and then it's going to start taking on our nice red color, and there you go. This one looks like it's starting to get, you know, a lot more red. So I'm going to add Another coat on there just to make the red as I can get. Now the idea here, you guys already seen me lay some pearl white down. Now we're laying pearl red down. So the idea here is, if you haven't guessed it by now, it's going to be an American flag theme. So next color we're going to lay down is going to be some pearl blue. However, just to make it look a little bit different, we're gonna mask up a couple white stripes over the hood and the roof, and then we're gonna add some pearl blue, and we're gonna add a little marine blue candy to it. We're definitely gonna throw in some hot rod sparkle to make this thing pop. As usual, 40-30 for flow and 40-12 to reduce a little bit, and then we're gonna get to painting this thing. See that color there, that blue? That's a nice deep blue. I think this is gonna really set this truck off, having the blue on the top. So hope you guys agree. But first coat here, pearl blue coming up. We're gonna lay it on nice and light, a little tack coat. Just kind of get good coverage all over, front and back, side to side. And then we're gonna let this thing dry for 5 to 10 minutes and come back and start layering on. Yeah, I did get a little nervous here first couple coats or two, like I did with the red, not having a color keyed base coat, because this, it is pearl, and I thought I'd be okay by not using color coded base coats. Main reason why I threw the candy in there to darken it up a little bit. And after I kept going, it did seem to really bring the blue out, and it didn't seem to make a difference not having that under there, at least not for this. If I would have, it probably would have been a little bit darker right off the bat. But I don't think it. When you see the final, I don't think it made too much of a difference there. So keep layering it up here until we get the dark bluish color that we're going for, and it's looking really good there. It's kind of hard to see in the light, but kind of got to the blue color that I want. So we're going to go ahead and take off our masks and our masking tape and try to reveal what our overall paint job is going to look like before we put some clear down. So I did try a new kind of masking tape, this little thin black stuff. Found it at Hobby Lobby, and it was real skinny, and that's kind of what I was going for. We were trying to find a skinny masking tape, and it you can see on the hood that it did the blue did bleed under a little bit. So I did have a little bit of adhesion problem with those black masking tape, but no big deal. I'll just go back and I'll touch those lines up, and hopefully it won't be a big problem. The rest of it, we had Tamiya masking tape, that yellow stuff that we're pulling off all around the sides and stuff. That's some great tape. Almost next to never, rarely ever pulls any paint up. Real happy with how that stuff works. So I hope you guys are liking what you're seeing so far. I am. I know this is gonna be a sweet looking truck. Now it doesn't look real shiny. It doesn't pop right yet, but just wait till that clear gets on there, and that thing's really gonna pop. So I think it's looking cool right now. So that's pretty much done with the body there. So we're gonna move on to our suspension and our chassis. So in the first part of the video, you did see some of you saw the big old wheels I'm trying to put in there. So what we're gonna need to do is we need to make a really high suspension here to get them big old tires to fit under there and make this thing look like it's can jump over some cars. So I found a great video on how to do these suspensions from Bare Metal HW. If any of you guys watch his stuff, great work from that guy. He does great tips, and that's where I pulled this paperclip suspension from. I have done it one at a time. It worked out great, so I figured this is going to be a perfect opportunity to use this method again, being as though it's another monster truck, and it does have, moving suspension. It'll be able to articulate left and right, front to back, and it really works out awesome. It's kind of a pain in the butt. You have to, keep measuring and bending the paper clips and make sure they are almost exactly even, and it's not easy to do. It's really not easy to do, but so far I got the paper clips all bent down, so I got the lift kind of handled as far as the height goes, and I think I got the axles centered where they were before. So now what's left to do is we have to add the rest of the suspension here, and this is the part that's going to allow those wheels to articulate, front to back and side to side and kind of corner to corner. So you can see how I bent the paper clips up here, and the unique way that they pull they fit together. When you pinch them together, they kind of spring into action. And if you go back to Bare Metal HW's YouTube page and look for this kind of tutorial he made, he explains it a lot better than I did. But once you put them together and you kind of squeeze them together, it really springs the suspension into life. And then you go ahead and super glue or liquid weld it to the chassis, and then you can go ahead and trim the edges off the front and paint that thing up, or whatever you want to do with it. But my plan is I'm going to end up painting the whole chassis all black, so I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to have to re-chrome all the suspension, because that's it's all going to get covered up when I go ahead and paint the chassis all black. And I didn't want to paint everything first because I knew I was going to do some gluing and or some liquid welding to this thing, so I didn't want to paint first. I wanted all that to be covered up and kind of hidden with the black chassis, so that's why I did it afterwards. But no big deal. A little chrome pen all over that thing will make it look pretty. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to pinch those two pieces of paper clip together in the middle to spring that suspension to life, but I'm also trying to get it nice and centered, front to back and kind of left to right on the bottom of the chassis, so I can get my super glue in there to basically tack it on to the chassis. And once I get it super glued on there just a little bit, I'm going to go in with a little bit of the JB weld, plastic weld, and kind of just smother it all on there and cover that thing up so it isn't going to move. So here's a good look at it. The easy way to do it is with a pair of needle nose pliers and kind of pinch those two folded paper clip things together, and then get you a little bit of super glue and put that on there. I like this FiberFix super glue product because it has a UV light on the other side, and that's basically like quick dry for super glue, and you hold it on there for 5-10 seconds and it should be good to go, and it should not be moving. So once we get that thing super glued in place there, I want to secure it a lot better than just that little bit of super glue. So we'll plastic weld it here in a minute, but right now it's sitting pretty good. I think it's centered pretty good, so it's right where we want it. So we're going to use this JB weld, this clear minute weld. It's a really cool two-part liquid epoxy. I believe it dries in just a couple minutes, or at least tacks up into a couple minutes, and we're going to mix this thing up here, and we're kind of going to smother it all on that center section where the suspension meets all together. And I want this to, I want it to hold in there, and while I'm pressing on it, if you go to press on the truck, straight down or either side or either way, I don't want it to come off. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put this JB weld minute weld on here, and we're going to kind of keep folding it up over top of our little hinge, I guess, there, until it starts tacking up, until it stops kind of being runny, and then we're just going to let that thing dry overnight, and then we'll be able to come back and hit the paint booth for the rest of this part. But good thing about this product is it does tack up pretty quick. So as long as you can keep all that weld from running, we should be in good shape. And try to keep it somewhat looking good, so it's not just laying out splattered all everywhere and all mounted up. But we're just going to keep pushing it towards our hinge where we want to build it all up at. And it's you can tell it's already starting to tack up there. You can see it kind of getting stringied out on my screwdriver. So I think we're in good shape there. We think we'll just let her sit and let her dry overnight, and we'll be good. So off to the paint booth. After we're done letting it dry, we're going to go with opaque black just to start here. I am going to do some detailing, like I said earlier, on the bottom. So we're going to start out with just some opaque black and just thin this thing out a little bit with a little 4012, and we're just going to go in real light, lower pressure, on the lower PSI pressure. I don't want a lot of splatter and whatnot, so just try to go real light. And this is you can see there's a lot of hills and valleys and little cracks and crevices, and you just gotta make sure that you hit them all, and hit them light and hit them often. You don't want to go too heavy, you don't want it to run. So I like to go just real light and try to just pretty much get it about every angle as you can think of, and eventually it'll get covered up. So we're first coat opaque black. It's looking pretty good. We got pretty good coverage. We're going to come in here with another coat, and we're going to start layering it up a little bit more. This is, since it does dry fairly quick, I mean you can kind of keep it going, and it's not going to take many more coats. You can kind of keep at this as long as you go. If you go with light paint and light PSI, and it'll cover and dry quick, you can kind of keep going. So after our chassis done, I made a little bit of a bed cover here out of some styrene, and I did have to trim some notches out. Needed to make room for some more roll bar material, and I went ahead and painted this thing with some pearl white to match other parts of the truck. And I found these sweet Punisher decals on eBay with the American flag theme to them, and I thought this just fit perfect to this whole truck theme. So I went ahead and got those, got one of them on there, so our bed cover is looking pretty cool. So after everything's dried up, you can see we got our chassis and our front grille all detailed up. We got our suspension detailed up, a little bit of the drivetrain underneath. We got some chrome going on under there. It looks pretty sweet. Rear bumper looking good. We did trim the front part of those paper clips down right in front of the axles, and you can see it's articulating well. We got our interior ready to roll with our engine mounted. I did paint a little bit of the interior. I got the seats done. I got the roll bar part painted chrome, and we got our bed cover. Just saw in the last clip that thing's ready to go. I do have a couple surprise additions to mount to that thing in the end, and here's a look at our body. This thing's got the 2K clear on it. It was about 3 coats worth, and you can see it is shining. It's looking sweet. You can see that hot rod sparkle popping underneath there. Really liking how this thing turned out. I can't wait to get this thing together and show you guys this final product here. I think it's gonna be a badass truck. There's no doubt about it. So final assembly here, we're going to go ahead and pop our windshield in. And I know you really couldn't see it there, but the lights on the roll bar were mounted to the windshield, so I went ahead and painted those chrome also. So they match the roll bar here when I get this thing together. But take a look at that motor sticking out of that truck. That thing is sweet. Can't wait to get this thing together the rest of the way. So we're gonna go ahead and pop our little bed cover in here, and I did glue a little styrene spacer on the inside of the tailgate to kind of give this bed cover a little something to sit on. It is. I did trim it tight, and it's gonna kind of fit in there pretty snug. So there really wasn't any need to mount it anyway or whatever. And I wanted to be able to get it off if need be. So we're just gonna kind of wedge it on in there real good. Try to make it sit flush, and then we'll be able to start attach our body to our chassis. So I don't know. Hope you guys are liking this so far, because I'm really liking it. What a fun build to do. So you see there, I bent up some paper clips to add the rear arms on the roll bar. Just a little something to add to that roll bar, because just those straight up pillars I didn't really like. It needed something to arch back and angle back into the bed like normal roll bars are. I do, I understand the paper clips are a little thinner than the big one that goes, back around the back of the cab, but I think it's subtle, and I think it works. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this chassis up on the body and get her wrapped up. But first we're going to take a step back, look what we started with here with our stock Hot Wheels 1970 Dodge Power Wagon, and we got our big old Firestone LED green light wheels for our monster truck. Pretty cool truck, but we did a big overhaul to it, and this is what we finished with, guys. I want you to say hello to the Patriot. What a fun build this was. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Hope you enjoy this truck. I think this thing's sweet. Fresh paint job, the red, white, and the blue, all the chrome, flags in the end, that big ass motor sticking in there, those big ass Firestone tires. Cool build. I don't know, one of my favorites, favorite one I've done so far. Definitely want to thank Devils Details Diecast for throwing this challenge out there. I've been waiting for it, jumped all over it. I hope you guys check out all the other builds for the Monster Jam Challenge. And if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button and hit the bell. And check out my other customs. There's a lot of the 3 Blind Mice challenges and a bunch of other restorations and customs. And if you guys are really into any racing, I've got a handful of races too. So I want to say thanks again, and we will see you guys in the next challenge. See you later.